G'day cocktail lovers, I hope you've been keeping well. Hope you're ready for another cocktail. This one is from a fairly well-known bartender, Dale de Groff, and this was created for the Belmont races. It was the official drink of this big racing event for a while. I think it's been superseded now. It's called the Belmont Breeze. Now, the reason I found it, when I was doing a search, I was searching for cocktails with orange in them. It normally turned up orange juice. The reason I did is I want to use this little magic elixir that I made. I talked about it in another video. This is, I'm basically calling, this is an orange mandarin cordial. It's like a sugar syrup substitute. The process is, stage one is you make what we call an oleosaccharum. You peel the citrus, you cover it in sugar. Over about 12 hours, the sugar leaches all the oils, citrus oils, out of the peel and turns into a goop. Now, normally you add water to that, and then you have an oleosaccharum, basically a very citrusy sugar syrup, which is super nice. Now, I found this recipe, which I adapted a little. Instead of adding water, you add the juice and you liquefy the sugar fully with that, and then you milk clarify that. I should do a whole video on this because it's a little bit complicated. I'll put a description, as I did last time I mentioned it, a high-level view of how to make it. But basically you get this nice clear syrup. It's got an incredibly sort of zesty, tangy taste, and it's much more like a cordial than a sugar syrup. So I'm going to do a little bit of substituting. This recipe calls for orange juice and a sugar syrup, and this is going to replace both. My orange cordial is going to replace both, but the rest is going to be fairly in line with de Groff's recipe for a Belmont Breeze. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is traditionally a bourbon cocktail, and I thought I'd stick with a bourbon rather than subbing an Australian whiskey, as I often do. I have this Knob Creek 100 proof, a very nice bourbon. Suits the mood of a southern race meeting, and we have 1.5 ounces, 45 mils of bourbon going in. We also have sherry. It's nice to see sherry in a cocktail from time to time. You're seeing it a bit more lately, a bit of a rebirth, re-recognition of sherry. They call for a medium dry sherry. I'm going to use this Fino sherry, which I think fits the bill. It's quite nice, and it's just 1/2 ounce, 15 mils of sherry. The de Groff recipe calls for 1/2 ounce of simple syrup and a splash of orange juice. So I'm improvising. I'm going to do 3/4 ounce of my orange cordial. But given it's highly likely you don't have this unless you go to the trouble of making it, 1/2 ounce of sugar syrup and a splash of orange juice goes in. To balance that, we're also going to add 1/2 ounce of lemon juice, so 15 mils, fresh squeezed if you have it. I have this I squeezed earlier, so in the glass with 15 mils of lemon juice. The recipe also calls for a splash of cranberry juice. Very imprecise measure, just supposed to have a little bit of a pink tinge to the drink. So I'm going with, well, I literally just splashed some in the jigger. So it's about 5 mils, but you make up your mind how much is a splash of cranberry and add that. We are also going to put about 5 mint leaves in. This is fresh from the garden. I say about because it depends how big your mint leaves are. These are decent size. A couple smaller ones here, so yeah, depending on the size, 5, 6, crush them a bit to get those oils happening and put that in the shaker glass. We add ice to our shaker, put it together, bang it in hard. Now we want to shake this hard for about 15 seconds, not just for the chilling, diluting, but we really want to get a release of some of the aromatics from the mint leaves that are in here. Now we're going to want to fine strain this one. So the Hawthorn strainer on the shaker glass and through a fine strainer, because it's not just a question of ice chips. There'll be little flecks of broken up mint leaf in there as well. Now I want to keep them out of the glass. If you're not bothered, maybe just do the Hawthorn strain and it'd be no harm at all. And glassware is pretty wide open. I'm going to use a rocks glass with a big chunk of ice. You could put it in a Collins glass, like just fill it up with ice. And hey, if you want to, top it off with soda. Don't let people hold you back, particularly if you're out in the sun on a hot summer's day. Tall drink, full of ice, topped with soda. What's wrong with that? In my case, it's going to go in a rocks glass, and we need to fine strain that to keep those little bits of mint leaf out. And we'll just put the sprig in there. Whoa, there we go. In you go. In you go. And there we have our Belmont Breeze. And now for the all-important taste test. You of course get that magical mint aroma from both the mint in the drink and our garnish. But in terms of actual taste, it's a really bright drink. Like 100 proof whiskey can sometimes really dominate a drink. You've got those great whiskey flavours in there. The cherry helps lighten it, and just the little bits of the fruit juice, the sweetener, and it is, well, you would expect with Dale de Groff to have a really well constructed and balanced drink. This is really good. Even with my little bit of free forming, it's a really balanced drink. I really like this one. Oh, yeah, this is actually going near the top of my favourites actually. I'm really happy with how this has turned out, considering I dug this up solely to use the orange cordial that I made. I've made a pretty good punt. It's come out quite well. So yes, as I said, I don't blame you if you don't go to all the trouble of making the cordial I'm talking about. Personally, I think it's worth it. It's a really unique taste. But yeah, substitute in just simple syrup and a splash of orange juice for the original de Groff recipe, and you're literally off to the races. I shouldn't say literally, it's figuratively off to the races. And pretend you're at the Belmont Stakes with a Belmont breeze. Works for me. I hope it works for you, and I hope you can come back. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, it would be great if you did. Yeah, let me know if you've tried anything exotic like the... It's to just make a slightly different sugar syrup. It is a slightly time-consuming thing, but it's fun to do, and I think it's worth it. I'd love to hear from your own adventures in similar times. Otherwise, I hope to see you again soon. So look after yourself in the meantime. Look after everyone around you. I hope you stay well, and I hope to see you again soon. Until I do see you, cheers.